Welcome to our 23rd episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. I'm Danny Ko.
And I'm Atta Tabesh. Thank you for joining us on our episode number 22. Last Saturday was the last event of the season in the DMV area. The autocross season went by fast this year. What's new to report now that the season is finished, Danny? What are we doing?
Well, we have a few things to report in our last few episodes until the end of the year. We'll celebrate the winners of this year in a special segment we call Rusty's Party later on this episode. And we'll talk about the season championship winners as well as how to prepare for your car for next year. We'll also reveal the new host of the DMV Autocross Podcast for next season. Lots to talk about. Any races still available before the end of the year, Atta?
Well, if a whole season of autocross is not enough, you could still go to the last NNJR, that's the New Jersey region, event of the year at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, where the Giants play this Saturday. The weather looks fine, and there are also fast people in NNJR. Locally, we know that Cody Hunt and Danny are both going. And if you're up for a 3 to 4 hour early morning drive and a fun event, registration is still open until Friday.
Also, this coming Sunday, VMSC is hosting their last event at the Virginia Motorsports Park in Petersburg, Virginia. VMP surface is a little bumpy, and the course can be fast and challenging. I'll be there if I can get up after I get home from New Jersey the day before.
Nice.
Sunday starting time at VMP is always after 11, so there's no rush to leave super early. I generally leave from my house around 7, arrive there at 9:30, register, tech, and course walk, and you're ready to go. Let's have an early dinner at Giuseppe's if you guys are going.
All right. So we didn't bug Alan this week for a weather segment because there's no local weather forecast to report. Alan did run across the Bay Bridge, however, last Sunday in 51 minutes. So he is probably focusing on sports psychology, right? We will certainly bring Alan back before the end of the year to ask him to provide a weather forecast for the entirety of next year. So please don't worry.
So Ada, just off script here, how fast can you run across the Bay Bridge?
I don't think so. That's a very good question, Danny. I saw his picture he posted, and I calculated that I wouldn't be able to make it to the top. So it's all uphill till you go downhill, right? Yeah. I think I'm making it like a third of the way up, and then I think we're going to have to call a cab, maybe an Uber.
That's pretty amazing for a gynecologist.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. He's in such great shape. He's still running around. I mean, I don't know what's faster, the Miata or him running in those Nikes, but it's a toss up.
Well, I'm telling you, those Nikes are pretty fast.
I love it.
All right. So the only events that took place were the Mercedes and BMW events last Saturday. I attended a Mercedes event, and I learned the Vitor Tempesta P1 is not a cheater tire during cold weather. My co-driver, Mike Neri, and I put a total of 16 runs, and we still spun in our last runs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. The tires were stone cold after all those runs, so it's probably not a good tire to cheat on during cold days. Good news from the Mercedes Club is that the club will continue offering season pass for next year with a 15% discount. I know I'll take advantage of that. Racing-wise, Steve Mitchell's car suffered a right rear hydraulic shock remote canister leak during the afternoon runs, and the car was beached. Marcus Pine was forced to drive his BRZ in STR, and that allowed Jack Chrissy driving Jen Fox's ND to take top time of the day. The top 10 fastest times are first one to Jack Kerr.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Second one to Marcus Pye. Brian Coz is third. Patrick G is fourth. Samir is fifth. Matt Hu is sixth. Greg Poe is seventh. Jen Foe is eighth. Josh Bott is ninth. And Danny Cobb round out number 10. Loser.
I love saying the names with just the two letters. I think it's like the most fun. Like just reading them is just great.
I like Samir.
It just keeps going. So at the same time, the BMW Club hosted their event on the Potomac pad at Summit Point. AJ Aviles was there, and he took a bunch of pictures for everybody, which was wonderful. AJ also provided up the results for the race. The top 10 fastest folks are Cody Hunt, Howard Lykin, Ken Wojak, Ryan Davies, Kahil Netraboff, Charles Pompey, AJ Aviles, Rafael Garces, Rani Imad, Anthony Petrila. I hope I said some of those names properly. I apologize.
That's better than I could do.
I want to say, can we take a moment to say I'm sorry to those people?
No, I think it did good.
No,
I still don't. I think Ryan Davies in fourth place is probably a typo.
Oh, was he not? Was he there?
He was. I think he was there.
Then he's definitely fourth place.
I've never seen Ryan Davies autocross.
He's lightning fast. Get out of here. He's the best.
Yeah.
He's the best. He's number
Maybe
one.
he's the fourth. Maybe he's 40th. I just dropped a zero by example.
Oh, that's not even close to true. This concludes our racing report of the 2024 season.
Yes.
Great job to everyone. Even if we never called your name in the top 10 this year, we're proud of you for even showing up and showing out. So pats on the back to everybody.
Maybe next year we'll randomly pick 10 people and then just put it up there.
Yeah, or we could just call out last place every time.
Yeah. Or that's a project for our new podcast host.
That's good.
We'll let him figure it out.
Danny, if there was one class that you could say every time you have to have the full results for, what class would that be?
What class for the full results?
If you said like
XA. So Ad and I both be in XA next year.
Everyone's going to be in XA. It's going to be
That's
a blast.
Right. There's no other class. XA is the only class. But anyway, as promised, we'll bring you a special segment called Rusty's Party. Rusty English graciously hosts a celebration party for our SCCA Solo National Championship winner and National Class winner. Our SCCA National champs this year are Cody Hunt in STX, John Vinovas in SM, Julian Garfield in C Street, Mark Kanakarane in ESP, and Brian Garfield in XU.
Awesome.
We all know that the real reason that the party was for Rusty's fastest time of the event in STX on day 2. But we'll try to celebrate for Cody just to make him feel better. And here are some interviews that Ada did at the party. Enjoy.
It was a great party. It was the best party. Welcome to Rusty's house, where we are celebrating John V and Cody's national championships this year. What do you think about that?
It's amazing that I actually won. John V wins every year. Mm-hmm. Cody, impossible.
I heard a rumor though that Rusty actually beat Cody on day 2. Is that true?
That is totally true. That's why the party's at Rusty's house.
We're at Rusty's house celebrating Rusty.
That's right. So there's a lot of noise upstairs. I'm not sure if anybody can hear it, but we are in the quiet confines of Rusty's basement. But as you can see, this is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful. We're in the woods. We're relaxed. There have been deer walking by. I hope we can catch a deer while we're recording walk by.
I even saw the kangaroo.
Okay,
Wrong, Rusty.
That's a wrong Rusty. No, you're not thinking. No, you're thinking of That's not Rusty. That's what's his name?
That's Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, Crocodile Dundee. But then the other Steve Irwin. We're thinking of Steve. I was thinking of Steve Irwin.
Oh, no. That's because Ada is a what do you call a millennial?
What's that have to do with Steve? I love Steve Irwin.
Crocodile Dundee is for people like me.
Yeah, but he was a fictional character. Mine was real.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe. But Kangaroo at Rusty's house in Ashton, Maryland is also a fictional kind of a thing.
It is. There's no kangaroos.
Yeah.
Here.
But anyway, so we're going to slowly bring some guests in for some interviews. The interview could be good, it could be bad. We never know what's going to happen. So I'll see what I can round up with. And then Ada will come right back to you.
All righty.
All right. Okay, great.
Thanks, Danny. We have today Rusty. Rusty, it's nice to meet you, and thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, man. How's it going? Glad to host y'all. Glad to finally have the dynamic duo here.
Awesome house. Love it. Having an actual blast upstairs, but you can't really tell on the podcast, but is the best autocross party I've ever been to. I mean that too, by the way. All right, so you had a blast this year at Nationals with Cody. Can you tell us a little bit about what went down, what it was like, and some of your experiences?
Yeah, man. So it's kind of a crazy year. It kind of started off pretty strong with the car running well. End of the season was coming around. The car just wasn't working right. And we got to Nationals. Pro ran. I didn't get into the pro. Cody did. And the car didn't run well. And you could tell the car wasn't working well. I drove a few laps and the front end was not working. So like the day before Nationals, I'm like, dude, the car's something wrong with the car. And so there was this huge meeting of the minds with Sam Strino and Brian Carwin. And we sat through the car, started pulling wheels off, and lo and behold, the whole front end suspension was just completely bottoming out, rubbing against the frame. So we changed the entire car the day before Nationals. But thankfully, able to get going well. And then the truth hit the table and Cody put down the numbers. So great win for him.
That's fantastic. And who was a little bit faster on day 2? Can you remind me, please?
Yeah, day 1, I was still sorting the car out for Cody, so I was a little bit behind him. But then day 2, I was able to, put several tenths on him. Thankfully, the first day I was far enough behind to not take the win. But, I've been carrying Cody for a number of years now, so it's good for him to finally get that win.
I think on behalf of everyone in the DC region and every region, we'd all like to thank you for single-handedly carrying Cody and assisting him really in becoming national champion, making you the real, some would say the real national champ.
I mean, it's been a long journey. It's been several years of me working with him, but glad to finally see him cross that bridge. And now next year, I don't have to help him quite as much.
Is this what it feels like when your kid finally goes off to college? You feel like you've kind of done it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's like, they're finally out of the house, finally off your payroll, and now I can actually start doing what I want to do. So,
well, we would all like to say thank you so much. Thanks for the party. Thanks for helping Cody. Thanks for being a great co-driver. I really appreciate it, Rusty. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having y'all, and I'm glad y'all could make it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And we have our first national champion, one of 2, with us today. This is so exciting. Welcome, John. Thank you so much for being here. You look fantastic and majestic, if I do say so myself.
And you, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. I would like to say on behalf of everyone, congratulations. You kicked butt in solo nats this year, King of the Mountain this year. Thank you. And please tell us a little bit about what went down.
Jeez. There's a lot of luck involved with the first one for sure. Yeah, I don't know. We had a great King of the Mountain event. Sam and I were running neck and neck for the entire weekend. We actually didn't win late model like we did. We went 1-2 last year. We ended up 2-3 this year. And they surprised us this year with a different King of the Mountain course than the one that they had run the previous couple of years. And I guess let's just say it was easy to screw that course up, and everyone screwed it up to a degree. And I just happened to be the one I think that screwed it up the least over my runs, and the car stayed together, which also needed to happen. And a lot of people, had that problem. So worked out pretty well.
That's fantastic. I can't get over. I'm staring at you right now. I can't get over that crown. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is aftermarket. Yeah, this showed up at Rusty's house. Yeah, it didn't. They don't provide you with a crown. You have to bring your own crown.
BYOC, is that what they call it?
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about solo nats. What happened there? You're the champ of all champs.
Well, for street mod, yeah, that was good. Kind of a rough start to the event. Ended up in second after the first day. I was back, I think, like 2 or 3 tenths. I felt like I drove the course really well. Just didn't, the time just wasn't there. I think a lot of people struggled with the West course and trying to find time. So went into the other course, which was, I think, about 10, 12 seconds longer. It felt like I had a pretty good shot to make it up on a course that was going to reward horsepower a little bit more. So, yeah, managed to pull it out by a little bit less than 1/10 of a second, which not a lot, but I'll take it.
Oh, that's incredible. We also call that pulling a Rusty, where you do really well on that second day.
Yeah, managed to be fastest in class like Rusty was on day 2. But, next year I'll go for both days.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to say or anyone else you'd like to thank?
Big thanks to Marissa for tolerating me being out in the garage for however many years that was, putting that pile of junk together and keeping it running. And, thanks to all the other people, Clyde and Sam and Ian who drove that car and a lot of times didn't finish events because it didn't hold together and stuck with it anyway. So, yeah, I couldn't have done it without all those people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of the party.
Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Thanks.
Woo! Awesome. Okay, and on to our second national champ, first time national champ, Cody. Welcome, Cody. We're so proud of you. You look great in your hat, even though it's not a crown. It's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about Nats. How did it go? How'd you get there? What happened? And then show off that hat a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. It was awesome. This hat has been provided by my co-driver Rusty and signed by everybody at the party here, so that's pretty cool. So this was our first year running STX. We got the car in December. We're putting it together all year, trying to figure out how to get the setup right and all of that. Brian Carwin put all the parts on for me and tuned it, and then we had a baseline to go off of. So as Rusty and I always do, we found a way to mess up all the settings after Brian gave it to us. And so by the time we got to nationals, they were all wrong. Didn't do well at the pro at all, and we took it out on the practice course Monday before Nats, which was on Tuesday, right? So one day before Nats started, I had Sam and Brian Carwan jump in the car, and both of them worked together to fix all the mistakes that we had made all year long, which took a long time.
Like Ebony and Ivory, they really work together really well.
They do, yeah, right. It's like oil and water, yeah. And so they got it working. I was worried because we've done this before, where we messed everything up, and people have tried to fix it the day before Nats, and it didn't work at all. But this time it actually worked out. So yeah, day one, Darian was in the lead. I was down by like a couple hundredths in second. Day two, Rusty came out and blasted the field on his first run, and nobody caught his run the whole day. And honestly, the only reason I put it together on my last run is I was able to look at his data and figure out where I was messing up, and found just enough to take the win. So co-driver power there wouldn't have happened without him. Someday he'll realize you got to do that both days, but we'll get there.
So I was reading on Reddit actually earlier. Is it true that you had such a lead on Rusty that you just coasted day two?
Yeah, actually, I think I wrote that Reddit post, but yeah, that's exactly what
I think the subreddit's called Rusty LOL. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yep. Written by Cody. Yeah.
Written by Cody. Thank you. Awesome. Well, congratulations. We're all so pumped and so happy for you. Everyone, that's why we're having this party, right? Everyone is ecstatic. So thank you for being who you are, such a great driver and even better person. And is there anyone you'd like to thank? Maybe the DMV Autocross Podcast. Is there anyone you'd like to thank for this?
Well, I'd like to thank Lewis Hamilton for getting you a red jacket. I'm glad you. No, I want to obviously thank my wife for not throwing me out for all the money I've spent on these cars. Carwan for putting the car together, Strano for helping with all of it as well, and Rusty for kicking my ass day two and showing me how to get it done.
Awesome, love it. Congrats, brother. Great job.
Thanks,
Great
man.
job. All right. Thank you. We have a couple more guests with us. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Hi, Ada. I'm Abby. I have been racing both a 2021 Mach 1 and a 2015 BRZ, F Street, and then SSC.
Oh, love it. Thank you. Great. Wonderful. Can you tell me a little bit about your plans for next year, 2025?
We have no clue what car I'm driving or what class I'm driving in.
Okay.
It'll either be a Mustang or a BRZ.
Let's talk about 2025. Gwendolyn, what are your plans for next year?
I could drive the BRZ, could drive the C Street car with Jack. Could possibly have a G Street car before then, maybe, if I trade my Jeep in. So there's definitely possibilities.
And then we might lose a support vehicle. See, we have a lot of things to weigh. Lots of...
It's good to have these problems when there's more than one of you, right?
Yes.
You can work together, figure out the most efficient or fun way to do things. You have co-drive options, you have single driver options, you have support vehicle options. It sounds like next year is going to be awesome for you both.
Yes, hopefully.
I'm excited.
Yes,
Very excited.
I think we're all excited. So
Third year next year.
that's fantastic. Yep,
Totally.
up and coming stars.
And you're...
Second year, this is my second year regionally, and then my first year nationally. And then next year, I'll do nationals and regionals. And then this is my second year on a manual transmission. Next year will be my second year on a transmission.
And you did nationals on your second season ever autocrossing. I think that's pretty cool.
That reminds me of Uncle Danny. I think he's one of the only people I know that went to nationals year one or year two. Year two. So you're actually Danny. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else you'd like to say or think?
I would like to thank everybody in WDCR for pushing us and helping everybody who went to nationals and everyone who cheered for us locally.
And thanks to Bill and Lee for letting us drive their cars, because they're awesome.
And buying us a lot of food on our journey to nationals. They fed us.
Being young and having support is definitely the only reason we could do this. Definitely the only reason we can do this.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you both. All right. Next to me now, I have Jack. Jack, welcome. How did your year go? And tell us a little bit about your plans for next year.
Year went pretty good. We went pretty good so far. I mean, first full national season this year, so put a lot of effort in, a lot of money. But no, it went great. Went to a couple national events. I think I won Finger Lakes this year, and then I won the pro finale at nationals, plus I think the pro at Cleveland, I want to say. So, and I think I ended up winning the C Street Pro Solo Championship this year. So it was a pretty successful year. First year at NATS.
That's an understatement when you say pretty successful year. That's fantastic. You did so great. We're all so proud of you.
Thank you.
And you are a name that is starting to migrate around. People getting to know you.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
It's pretty nice. I mean, I'm not, if you know me, I'm not the most come up to people, talk to them kind of guy.
Yeah, but you come up to me and I talk to you, and I talk to you, and you come up to I come up to
I didn't
you.
know who you were when I first met you. I'm just like, who's this guy walking around? Just random. I'm like, I don't, this energy.
Who is that guy? I don't even know who that guy is. And you're wearing those mirrored glasses, so you're looking at yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh no, it's just me. I'm just lost.
No, it's been a fantastic year this year, meeting you, hanging out with you, having a good time. And we're proud of you to see what you bring next year. What are your plans?
Driving the C Street car again. I got unfinished business, so.
Oh, we love to hear that. Let's go.
See if we can do it Nats next year. I got six at the just normal. So I don't know. I want to go for that national championship. We'll see.
Hey, I love the attitude. Let's get it.
We'll see.
All right.
Next year.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Thank you for joining us, Clyde. I can't right now with you. This year and next year, and talk to me. How are you doing?
Well, like last year was actually really good right until Nationals, and then Nationals and the Pro and everything was just awful. So next year.
Next year. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the plans next year? Go back, unfinished business?
Yeah, kick ass and have fun, but mostly have fun. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
And hopefully not drive with my head up my, but that's a tall order, so we'll see.
I can't. We're on the podcast, so I can't say what I want to say. But why you sound like me right now?
Why do I sound like?
I feel like you're taking my lines. Like this, it's exactly right.
No. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I know what I can do. I know what I wind up usually doing, and this year was just like really, really good. Like every event was really good. And then we got to Lincoln for National, and it just wasn't good. And it's just like a couple of bad events, and that's all. So on to next year, and not hold on to what went wrong, and look forward to what we can do better next year.
That's the true athletes. I'm not joking. True athletes like mindset, where it's a short memory when it's not something that we can build off of, and we just focus to the future. We focus for tomorrow and get it. So
yeah, and it's just like learning what went wrong, and there's like some things like I did wrong up here.
Yep.
There's something we had an issue with the car that was temporary. We fixed it, and it's fine. But it took a little bit, and it's just I can't do anything about what already happened. So it's on next year, and what I can learn from what I may have done wrong that I could have done better, and applying it in the future.
Well, I think I can speak for everyone when I say we're all cheering for your next year.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone you want to thank?
I want to thank Kevin, Sam, John, Mike, Danny, you actually even
That's literally your crew. You just called the boys out.
Yeah, well, I mean it's like I've been doing this around here longer than you have, right? But there are different groups, and it's just like I'm really glad that there are so many people in our region that go and show up, and it's like I remember what it was like 15, 20 years ago. It's like DC sent a whole lot of people to nationals every year.
Yeah.
We don't send that many people anymore. But it's like people we do send it. It's good, and like I think there are probably people that like watch a podcast and do this stuff. That like think about like whether I'm not good enough for nationals or it's too serious or whatever. And it's just like it's a lot of fun even when you suck.
Yeah. Yes.
And if you go back and look at my past results, I mean, you'll see like just how much I've sucked in the past, right? But it's a total blast, and the people are great, and also all the other people from all around the country. And it's just like being able to see more DC people turn out would be awesome.
I totally agree with you, and that's kind of what has happened here at this party. There are so many people. I want to say almost. I don't think of anyone here that hasn't been to Nats, right?
Yeah. Like I'm looking around the room, and what I see here, and there are people upstairs and people that have left already. But yeah,
I was processing that earlier, and that's kind of like that Nats mentality. You bring it home, and then you create that lovely like atmosphere here.
Yeah, and mostly it's like about having fun, about having friends and having a good time with your friends, and so it's like I took like a 5-year hiatus at one point, right? And when I went back to nationals for the first time, it's like I think I told somebody it's like my number one goal is just to make sure I have dinner with people every night that I'm here, and it's like that's all I want to do. Is like as long as I did that, it would be fine. Because like I remember the first year I went to nationals when I didn't know anybody. Like I wound up having like take out or like drive through Burger King one night. It's like, I didn't want to repeat that, but that was like, like I said, I didn't know anybody.
And that was your first year.
It was my first year, and it was also like a last minute thing. And it was like really weird and really different, but everybody here is friendly. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to hang out. I'd like to see DC send more people again.
I feel you.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
All right. Welcome, Marcus. Thank you for joining us. You did fantastic this year. Tell us a little bit about this year. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your plans for next year.
Sure. So this year went well overall. I planned on max efforting the year. And so I signed up for every single local event that I can make, as well as a bunch of national events. And overall, it went very well. Nationals, I couldn't put 2 days together, but very happy with how I did this year overall. And it's just more of the same next year. Going for that national championship jacket like Cody and John got. So
that's fantastic. We're all cheering for you, man. Like the strides you made this year, you went from very fast to silly fast.
Thank you. I was trying.
That's been very nice.
We're trying.
No, you're very fast. It's silly. So
the ND Miata helps a lot. It is very good.
Sure, but you're going up against ND Miatas.
Sure. Yeah.
So it makes it kind of like a level playing field, like a leveler playing field than some of the other classes where you have different vehicles, etc.
STR is spec Miata. So
exactly. So like you can't say it's because I'm in a Miata when everyone else is in a Miata. You drove out of your mind.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So next year, what are your plans? I'm guessing more of the same. You're just going to kind of finish some unfinished business a little bit?
Yeah, same deal. Try to win some more nationally. I'm going to go up to Philly region a bunch. They have a lot of talent up there, so I want to go race with some of those guys and just try to improve.
That's fantastic. So this next part, I have a quick 30 seconds for you. I discovered something last night that I think you will absolutely love.
Let's hear it.
I went to DC and I discovered the F1 arcade. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I was supposed to go with a bunch of friends. We canceled because my dealership is going to bring all of us for free. But it looks like a great time.
Wow. I went in blind. I didn't look it up. I didn't do the Instagram, Reddits, or Facebooks or whatever. I just figured it was a bar that was F1 themed. And they called it arcade. Maybe they got a couple machines in the corner.
I think it sims all around the walls.
It sims hundreds of sims.
Okay.
It's unbelievable. It's nothing like what I thought it was going to be. Is it as super hyper technical as like your home sim setup? No. Is it more exciting? Absolutely. Every seat is on one of those like gyro things for each corner of the seat. So it's like hyper realistic.
That's awesome.
It's not like one in the middle. You know how they have some of the ones in the middle? Yeah. It's every corner. You have the cool wheel, man. It's so sick. The big screen that's in front of you just for you that's curved, and then you got the one above you for like the people watching you. It is special. And I'm bringing it up because I think you would absolutely love it.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to going. I'm hopefully within the next month or so we'll get out there and beat up on all my coworkers.
And can I tell you one other thing? The food isn't bad. I thought the food was going to be garbage, and it was delicious.
If it's in DC, it needs to be good all around. Otherwise, people aren't going. So.
Yep. So yeah, that was my one thing I wanted to bring up because I thought you'd appreciate it more than most. I look to see you there.
Yeah, I'll tell you the date and come on up.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, this guy works with us. Don't worry about him.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Anyone you want to shout out real quick?
I just want to say thank you to Steve Mitchell. I've been co-driving his car for years now, and I wouldn't be at the level I'm at now without him helping. So thank you, Steve.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Yep. Joining us now, yes, is the illustrious Sam Strano. Welcome, please, as Danny comes and capes his highness. Oh, we love to see this. Here comes the crown. Last year's king will forever be a king in our hearts.
Oh, I get a scepter?
He gets a scepter.
John V didn't have one of these, right?
He did not have one of these. It's the one true king.
It was the first, buddy.
He was the first true king. You heard it here. Welcome, Sam. And he took the crown off. I love it. Oh, no.
There you go.
Oh, no. So thank you. And tell us a little bit about this year. We know you did real big things, real great things. And
I don't know. What great things did I do this year?
You did really well at King of the Mountain. You went to Nats. You kicking butt left and right. You did so well at time trials. Like, I mean, what do you want me to say?
That was all last year. I did really well at all that stuff.
Well, 2024. You were good this year.
It was all right.
Yeah.
I can't complain. I mean, take an F-Stock car to Time Trial Nationals is. I didn't win like Danny. I did that last year at an F-Street car, but nice.
We can't all win like Danny, and Danny put his hands up just now. I need everyone to know this. Don't cut this out either. Danny went to go put his hands up in victory and smashed his hands into the ceiling, and now he's like in pain over there. It's the best thing I've seen in a long time.
He's a little tall. He forgets sometimes.
Okay, so what are your plans for next year?
Spending probably way too much money and testing way too many tires. And I think I'm not going to change very much. I'll probably stick with the Mach 1 most of the time. And if John lets me run the RX-8 for King of the Mountain again, I'll definitely do that. Because that car, nobody's ever won twice. So the car's now won twice. Now it's time for a person to win twice. So it's going to be me or him. And
oh, baby, we love to hear that.
Everybody else can try. And they might do it, but.
That's awesome. So we're so pumped for next year's King of the Mountain. And then what about solo nets?
I think I'll probably stay in F Street. I think car is just a ride to drive, and since they finally fixed it and got us out of B Street a while back and everything, it's we've had a really good class, and the Camaros and the Mustangs are all real competitive, and I just like driving them because I like driving with my foot.
You like driving?
I like driving, and I like driving cars with a rear wheel drive and some power.
That's awesome. And then what about TT Nats?
Well, that's different. Yeah, it's coming to Pit Race next year, which is a power track. It's my home track, but. We'll see. I don't know. I've already looked at the gearing and the horsepower a little bit, and I think a GT350 is probably a little better than my car.
Oh.
But that's all right because I know where I can borrow one. Tim, thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
So, yeah, we'll just run that, and, maybe I can get that old C5 Corvette I got sitting around my shop running again. Or it runs. It just doesn't have ABS functioning, and that's not real fast.
Oh, man. That's awesome. So is there anything you want to say about Cody and setting up his car at the last millisecond right before at Nats, literally?
I mean, I didn't set it up. I just did some tweaking on it.
Humble.
Well, I mean, I did a lot of the parts, and Brian did a lot of the parts and everything, but Cody drives around things a lot. So congratulations, glad he won. But, man, it's a fight. Rusty had said something to me about, it seems not good. Like the front end would just wash away and he hit the brakes and it got worse. And as soon as he said that, it kind of clicked in my brain what I thought was happening. And during the Pro Solo banquet, instead of going and getting my year-end championship award, I'm underneath that thing looking around and I saw big rub marks, like the tire had rubbed the paint away on the body. So I'm like, yeah, you're bottoming out. We need to raise the car. And Cody's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I mean, we got to raise the car. So let's do that. And figured out where the sway bars were set and took it out on the street after we raised it. It rode a lot better. And I said to Cody, I think we're going to end up here and here on the sway bars tomorrow on the practice course. And I don't think he knew what to make of that. He was like, how do you know that? I'm like, well, I don't know it. I just think that based on what it feels like and everything. But luckily it all worked out. And, he had a much more drivable car and it just took some tweaking. It's, people forget sometimes you have to know how to turn the knobs, not just have all the parts on the car.
Well, I know earlier, I don't know if you were down here or not, but Cody and Rusty both thanked you for your work and your effort, and they both were like, yep, shouting out Sam, so thank you very much. I know they're pumped. They're still pumped. These guys are still on cloud 9 over here, and you love to see it, right? Yep. So that's what we're doing. Yep. We're having a great time. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
I'll be around.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks so much, man. Hey, no, for real.
Standing ovation.
Standing ovation. Yay! Hey, don't hit the ceiling this time. All right. And our next guest, possibly our second to last guest, because I'm going to interview Danny after you. Our second to last penultimate guest is Brian Garfield. Welcome, Brian. So happy to have you. And
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I have a special surprise for our guests at the very end of this beautiful interview. Great job this year. Our national winner, Brian Garfield, dominated XA the way that only XA... XU. Sorry, I'm XA. Yeah. You're XU. Yeah. Rusty came in. Hopefully you guys didn't pick up on that. Rusty came in and said some bad words. We're going to edit all that out for the kids watching at home. It was something about getting raw times by XB. We don't want to hear that.
It was the first year for the class.
It was the first year.
XU. Yeah, XU. It's designed to be a class that if you don't fit into XA or XB, which is not going to be that many cars in general, it's going to be more of a catch-all for regional events. But it is a national class nonetheless, and we have been in a kit card in D-Mod for the last 5 years, and We just never wanted to turn it into a non-street car. So when they invented the XU class, it happened to be that there were some gray areas, but the car fell into that class by the rules. So we decided to run there this year. This year, yes, it's a national winner class, but it's...
Brother, you smoked the class. You did so well. That's driver.
Yeah,
Don't give me that. That's driver.
We were not that I was not personally that fast, but I was faster than the other two people in the class. So yeah, I was the national winner in the class. But the whole point is to drum up interest in the class, and it is going to be officially announced that all kit cars are allowed in that. So if you think about a kit car, most kit cars are not allowed in any class other than a modified level class, which goes on slicks and turns it into a non-street car and does crazy stuff. And it, it's never what you intend if you build a kit car for the street. So this class kind of falls into place as the ideal position for anybody that owns a kit car, whether it be an Exocet, an Ariel Atom, an Ultima GTR, some sort of Lotus replica. There's factory 5 818s. Mm-hmm. There are people that have bought those that can't run them anywhere, and they end up not autocrossing with them. They take them track racing. Same with Exocets. Now all these cars are allowed into XU as a street car, as long as you keep your headlights, low beams, high beams, turn signals, horn, brake lights, all that stuff. So as long as you have all that, it's a great class for a kit car, and it's a catch-all for the young person who figures out that power to weight matters, and they strip all the interior out of their car, but they're still on street tires and they got a wing. They fall into XU.
That's fantastic, Brian. I'm also in that Facebook group. It's not as good as DMV Autocross when it comes to pure content.
Definitely not. No, definitely.
But I'm in that group, and I've seen all the info, and I'm very excited to see where XU is going to be heading in the next year.
I think it's going to be really exciting just because the cars that will be in it will be very different from any other car. Similar to kind of how modified ends up, but in this sense, they're street cars. So it'll be things that you can see on the street, but are just very extreme. And they're also very lightweight, which is also why they fall into XU. There's no weight limit on the cars, and there's no interior restrictions. So you can strip the interior if it's a regular car. But most of the kit cars don't have interiors anyway. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to say again, on behalf of everyone, congratulations on being a national winner. Yeah. I am fighting my internal organs right now because I want to call you a national champ, but there's an asterisk there not being a full jacket class.
So until a class is a jacket class, new classes are always considered supplemental classes, and until they become a jacket class, if you will, a true national championship class, they're called a national winner, which is fine with me because this year was not. It wasn't a legitimate size class.
You are a national winner, but in my heart, you're a national champion.
Sure, I'll take it. That means a lot to me. Yeah.
Awesome. Next year, are we still in XU? Or what are we going to do?
Yeah. So, the plan is to help build the class mostly, and of course, make improvements on the car. But all these improvements are great for us because they're all improvements that the car can remain a street car and still be street friendly, still keep the headlights on, the taillights. It doesn't matter that we weigh a little bit more in street trim, where we were about a good 100, 150 pounds heavier in street trim than we were in demodified trim. Now we can just leave all that stuff on the car. We don't have to worry about it anymore. We're on a street tire. Our street tires cost half as much as our slicks do, and they last a good solid, maybe twice as much as the slicks do. It depends. Some cars are a little easier on tires, but in general, overall, XU will be a less expensive class for us.
And I also know that a lot of our listeners actually go to Cars and Coffee events, and this car has been at Cars and Coffees and can keep going. It's a street car with street tires. It's got a license plate.
Yeah,
and so I can see you down at that, like the Ellicott City Cars and Coffee, right? Like downtown historic area, right?
Yep, absolutely. So, the car for us has always been a car that we wanted to take to Cars and Coffee or car shows or just drive on a backcountry street, but also be able to autocross it competitively. Yes. Well, that could have been that way about 10 or 12 years ago in demodified when the cars weren't changed as much, but they've gotten so radical now that that's not the case anymore. So yes, this car will still be something I drive on the street. It's on street tires. It's got a license plate. It's got an inspection every year that I have to get done. So now granted, we're in West Virginia, so it's a little easier to get a car like this inspected, but there are plenty of states where you can
Sure, absolutely.
And then there's always Montana if you need it.
Oh, thank you, Montana. Awesome. So last year you did incredible. Next year you're locked and loaded for XU. Great driving. I can't wait to see you and what you do next year. And now we have a special announcement. So everyone knows that post that Danny put out for next year. a little bit of changing of the guard for the Autocross podcast. And Brian has graciously volunteered to take over the mantle. So thank you so much. Bring it in. Thank you so much. Danny and I will still be around, unfortunately, for the rest of you guys.
That'll be a good thing because you can see that I'm not quite as exciting as I.
No, stop it. You stop it right now.
No, I think it's a cool thing, and I'm glad this happens. And even if it continues to change over, depending on whether people want to hear from me or you or whoever the next person is, but I think the podcast is a real good benefit especially to new people in the sport that need information, and then also just people who want some entertainment that's from people they know or
having a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny, can I bring up Dustin real quick? All right, Danny's giving us the green light. He gave us the thumbs up just now. Dustin Grubbs is going to be helping out as well.
Absolutely, I'm going to need his help.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
I'll be around. We're going to be around.
Oh, I'll hit you up.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And we're back with our save the best for last.
I thought we were just rapping.
No, we are wrapping it up, but I'm also going to interview you, just so you know. You did great this year. You had a fantastic year locally. You had a great year.
No,
in time trial. You're a time trials national champion.
I was not as fast as anybody in STR.
Okay. STR, you got beat up a little bit.
Yeah, really bad.
But in T4, no, S4, S5?
S4 on the last local event, I was the dead last person out of the 4 people that I raced in S4s. I didn't do that one either.
That was the last local event, but then at nationals, you're our national champion. And it has, come on now, yes.
Well,
the crowd is going wild.
I was saving all my energy for the last one.
Well, you did great this year, Danny. What are your plans for next year?
I have no plans. actually, I'm sorry. Sorry. For autocrossers, it's probably not going to be that exciting, right? But for me, as an older guy, I'm going to end up having wing, splitter, diffuser, flex fuel tune, exhaust.
That sounds like XA.
Big brakes.
Is this XA?
I'm sorry for you XA guys. Yeah. Sorry.
I love it.
Anyway.
I thought you said you were doing the other day.
No, I'm going to make a cool time trial car and then see however it goes. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. All right. So that was last year. That's next year. Let's wrap it up real quick because it is starting to get dark outside and I'm waiting for Rusty to just kick us out soon.
Well, you also need to pick up your kids. Your wife is yelling at you.
Yep, we did have to cut because I have to go get some kids in a minute. So that's a thing that's happening right now. So we're gonna that's it for the interview.
Thank everybody for joining in. And this is a wrap at Rusty's house. And thank you, Rusty, Mrs. Rusty, and everybody in Rusty family for hosting us. And well, thank you, Ada.
Thank you, Danny.
It's been an awesome year.
Awesome year. Thank you, Danny. Right. For our feature of the week segment, we would like to cover an interesting, informative, or a fun topic which could benefit all autocrossers. And in this episode, we're going to continue to cover the next set of Danny's autocross cars. During this period, we call the answer. We will go over many Miatas that Danny and his co-driver Mike Klein built and ultimately gave Danny his first national championship trophy. Before we get into it, though, we have to talk about this podcast and why Uncle Danny is talking about some of these things. And we have to talk about spam. Right, Danny?
Yeah.
Like what the hell happened?
So I don't know what's going on, but in the past few weeks, I'm started getting like crazy number of spams coming to my phone number, right? And then in one particular, somebody sent a spam to my email with a number that we couldn't trace. I have no idea who it is. And then it says, "Hi, Uncle Danny."
Danny, tell the listeners how long we tried to find this number, figure out who this was.
I was like, what the heck is this? Right. So now it's getting a little creepy. So maybe I'm sharing way too much information to you guys. You know, it's like, but I'm poor. I mean, I got no money to give you. Plus, I'm not senile yet, so I'm gonna block all your numbers.
Danny, we can't get spammed out of our money if we don't got any money to get spammed out.
I would say before we jump into this, I did get scammed once.
Oh.
Yeah, from almost the same situation. I got spam from my next door neighbor.
Oh,
who used to live right my next door, but they move out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got this frantic, message from her and saying that I'm stuck out in this place, and I really, if you need a few $100, I cannot get hold of my kids and all that stuff. Can you send me some money? And I was like,
Wow.
you owned a restaurant. Why are you asking me for money? I mean, really? She's just, yeah. I mean, don't ask me why. And then I was like, are you sure? I said, can you give me something to make sure to verify that you are you? What are your kids' names?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then that person messaged me and said, well, my kids went to same school with you and blah, 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 blah. And then they're their names. Right? So I was like, okay. I mean,
wait. So did they give you the right names?
They give me the right names.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I PayPal her $300.
Shut up.
And then right after that, I was like, then when I say, you get this okay, blah, 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 then now no more messages.
No,
right?
Nothing else gone.
So I was like, what the hell? Right. So I called that number back. And then that's a disconnected number. Right.
Oh.
And then through Facebook, I found her and I say, what is going on? She says, well, I never messaged you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I know.
It's crazy that they knew her kids' names.
I know.
They're saying stuff like they went to school with your kids. Like, you should know their names. Here's their names.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy, wasn't it?
That's
yeah. So now I'm getting spams from me on Uncle Danny.
That's the thing, though. You get spams when you buy a car, when you buy a house, when you refinance your mortgage. That's when you get the spams, and they have your name on them. They don't say Uncle Danny, do they?
Yeah. No. It says Uncle Danny. It's so weird.
No, I know the spam does, but what legal document? What document?
I was like, that's got to be from the podcast.
Oh my God.
Nobody else calls me Uncle Danny unless they're monitoring my Facebook or something.
Even your Facebook doesn't say Uncle Danny as your name.
No.
Yeah, that's wild.
I think a couple of Asian kids that I race with calls me Uncle Danny. That's about it.
Okay, so a couple people in some comments called you Uncle Danny once or twice.
My friend.
Like
Jackie and Queed. They call me Uncle Danny.
Yeah, a bunch of people call you Uncle Danny.
Well, you're calling me Uncle Danny.
I call you Uncle Danny.
Maybe you're spamming me.
I am not spamming you.
I got a spam that says, "Hey, Uncle Danny, can you send me some super parts?" No,
quickly, please.
Yeah. Some super tires.
Oh my God.
Preferably 295 35 18s or something like that.
Oh, don't give everyone my secret recipe. I'm just kidding. All right. So let's get into
it's weird. But I'm going to continue to share my car experience, but don't spam me if you're doing this. Yeah. That's not fun.
There's no way anyone's doing this. There's no way any of our listeners are doing it. This doesn't make sense. I don't
Next time spend Alan's patient. Don't
don't
spam me.
No, if there was anyone we should spam, it's like Carwin, right? Like
it's Carwin. Okay, yeah.
So that's that's a community service.
Car steps, we love spamming.
If anyone's signing Danny up for anything or anything along those lines, please don't do that, guys. Like, that's not cool, right?
I have no money. I mean, you'll find out very quickly. You're wasting your time.
Here's $2.
Yeah, there's $2. I got $3.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right.
So
let's talk about cars.
We have a bunch of Miatas. This is your era, your answer era, where you jumped into the Miata. You and Mike Klein together. Tell us a little bit about how that journey began. Like because the first ever car you autocrossed was a Miata, correct?
Yes.
And then you left Miatas in the dust for years.
Haven't bought a Miata since
until this.
Until this time around, yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about it.
So my first Miata I bought back in 1992 was a new Miata, and then back then I didn't know anything about cars, but I knew that the Miata was the most awesome sports car that ever at that time. And before that, I actually had a Corvette, and then I actually went through a 280ZX, or I drove a Dodge Conquest, stuff like that. So I would say, minus power, by far the Miata was the most sports car-like car that I've driven back in 1992. But I don't know anything about cars back then. So that came and went. And then I started autocrossing in 2006. And then that was my first car was a Miata. So then I didn't get any Miata since, jump and try all different cars until, when was it? 2015, actually. So in 2015, I wanted to rage quit autocrossing, like what we talked about in the last episode.
Yep.
And then I got rid of the very well-built FRS. Then went through, Focus STs and WRXs, but they either tripoding or kept on breaking. So at the time I didn't know what to do. And then what the interesting part is, and a friend of mine, Adam George, he called me up one day out of nowhere and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about trading my Mustang with Raleigh Borain with his CSP Miata. So I was like, what are you going to do with the CSP Miata? You're a Mustang guy. Why do you want to leave Mustangs? He says, I have too many Mustangs and all that stuff. I think I'm going to get a CSP car and just race it for a while and get rid of it, but I really don't want to buy it. But it's a fair trade, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, right? So I go, how much is that CSP Miata, right?
Mhm.
So after Adam told me how much that Miata was, it was like, I think I want it. Right. So the funniest part was I jump into Adam's truck and trailer. He put his Mustang there. He drove into me rally, and then we met halfway, or I forgot where I don't know. I think we met in Pennsylvania or somewhere like that. And then we met at a parking lot, and Raleigh dropped the red CSP Miata there, which is an NA, a 96.
Mhm.
And then Adam dropped off his yellow Mustang, and then we shake hands and then exchange pleasantries, and then I got a CSP Miata.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what did Adam get?
Adam got nothing. He got money. He got my money.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I was driving home. I was like, what am I going to do with the CSP Miata? Right. Then the first thing that popped in my head is the master of Miatas, right? Which is Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Mike Klein was my co-driver. And then we drove together in the shifter cars for many years. And then we co-drove a couple times at nationals with the shifter carts. And then after that, he started jumping into STR driving an MR2 with Chris Lynn. So he was Chris Lynn's
nice.
co-driver.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Chris Lynn's co-driver then. So then after I got the Miata, I call him up. I go, hey, Mike. I say, what are you doing? So he goes, oh, what you doing? What's going on? So I go, how much can I buy you out of a Chris Lynn's co-drive? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go, so he goes, what do you mean? I said, I just bought a CSP Miata. You have to be my co-driver.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, okay, I'm going to dump Chris.
Oh, poor Chris.
So he calls up Chris, and Chris was like, okay, whatever. So,
that sounds like Chris. He's
so,
like, okay.
So that's how I stole Mike.
Nice.
So Mike and I bought this car, and then we did a couple of events, and we went to nationals, right? Because this transaction took place sometime in late June, I think July.
Yeah.
We didn't have that much time to even drive the car before I have to go to nationals.
Right.
So that's when we find out that the car was really, really nice. I mean, the body was, immaculate, right? There's not a single bit of rust in there. It was custom painted, back in bright red and everything. Mm-hmm. And then the biggest feature is at the time, they're all trying to fit, 15 by 10 rims and tires, mm-hmm. right? On those cars for CSP, and then around Hoosiers. And a lot of people just cut the fenders and roll the fenders in and all that stuff. What this car did is it has custom shape metal fenders that were welded onto the car itself. Wow. And it's all custom painted, sanded, painted, and all that stuff. So it looks factory.
That's amazing.
It's a factory wide body, right?
That's cool.
So that's why, so then as soon as I get it, I call it a little chicken, right? Because it's really, really a beautiful car. And then we went to nationals with no ABS, right? And then down on power, right? Yeah. Because it doesn't have an engine swap. So it was down on power, all that stuff.
Because it was an NA, right?
Yeah, it was an NA.
Yeah. Okay.
And Mike trophied that car.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome, right? And then, of course, I wasn't trophying that car. I was like mid-pack somewhere. So after we finished nationals, we realized that, hey, that's a good car to kind of continue to make it better. But the few things that we definitely need that we learned as soon as the weather got cold is we got back from nationals, and then our next event was at Hershey. I think it was towards the middle of September, and then that morning was like 40 degrees. And then Mike and I would have our national tires, so we have this big aspirations that we're going to do super well. Mm-hmm. And then we went there. We go to the first corner. Mike hits the brake. No, not even that. Mike hits the brake, and the car just doesn't stop.
Just go straight.
Yeah, it just went straight, right? And then after he settles down and start making a corner, now the car goes.
Oh, you did not like flat
spot all four tires at the same time.
Congratulations.
Right? So then I jump on it, of course, I bound. And then when I hit the brake, of course, I locked up the wheel because
you're gonna keep making the flat spot worse.
Yeah. So we're making we're making a tire into like a Flintstone wheel.
A square. Yeah.
Like it was pretty funny. So then we realized either Mike and I are not good enough to drive a non-ABS car and be smooth, right? So then we started scheming and say, hey, man, we got to put ABS in this thing, right?
Yep.
So this is kind of what we did. We started looking for ABS, and then we started calling a few folks. And then I think the first gen ABS, I think they do come in one or two few cars. I think some special editions, but they're not very good ABSs, right? So most of the good ABS are from like 99 and on, right? So we started asking a few people and say, hey, how are we going to put ABS in there? And then when we find out that the parts to get ABS, even with Mazda Sport discount, at that time was around $2,800 just to have all the parts.
That's like the price of a Miata back then.
Yeah. So I go, let me go find one.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I found a automatic 2000, I think it was an automatic 2000 Miata.
Okay.
Right. With ABS at King of Prussia in near Philadelphia.
Yep.
Right. So I went up there and I drove it and I jumped in the car and I drove the car onto the trailer, and then the car was running a little rough, but we're like, I don't care. I just want the ABS anyway.
Sure.
Right. So I did check that, make sure the ABS module and all that stuff, that's all functional. So basically I got it back on the truck and then I drove it back. Right. And it was a black car. Right. Mm-hmm. So as I drive, I took a picture of the car at the rest stop. I sent it to Klein. He says, what are you sending me? Right. I was
you said ABS module.
No. I was like, you don't see a Miata on the back of the trailer? He says, I can't see anything on the picture. So because it was a dark black car, dark black day without any lights, right?
Okay, so you're sending him a black picture and be like,
yeah.
And he's
so from that point on, he started calling that car Darkness.
Okay.
And this was back in the Chappelle days, right?
The darkness. Oh my God, that's so funny.
It was hilarious. So we took Darkness home, right? So the first thing he goes, okay, well, let's kind of butcher it. Let's see if we can take it out. Yeah. And then we started looking at this car and we're looking at the other car, and we realized that there is no way that we can put the ABS module and all the rest of the stuff in an NA the way it is. They're like completely different.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then we started checking the rules and all that stuff. And then we realized that update backdate does not include fabrication of gutting out your entire and changing locations of all your parts, right?
Sure.
So then all of a sudden we realized that, oh man, this ABS won't fit in that NA.
Yeah. Oh man.
Right? So we're like, oh crap. So then we tried to figure out what to do. And then I figured out that then we came to a conclusion that maybe we should abandon the NA and then just develop the MB.
Okay, that's fair.
Right? Because everything is already there. So we're looking at Darkness. So it's like, yeah, man, this is good, right? Mm-hmm. So then the strategy became Mike will look into turning Darkness into a drivable car, right? And then my job is to, take the NA and then try to keep all the parts I want to keep, right? Yeah. Like the seats or, the sway bars and all of that stuff, rims and tires and brakes and all that stuff, because it's got little brakes and stuff. And then then basically I'll put everything back in and sell that NA to someone who's just going to street drive cheap, because for a street car, that car's beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. So then I did that. We decided what to keep. I stripped the stuff I want out of the NA and I put all the stock parts back on. And then someone from an autocrosser from Indiana actually bought the car for her daughter.
Nice, that's fun.
Yeah.
Good. Perfect. Yeah.
So she came pick up the car. They were happy and all that stuff. They left, and I got some money back from that. So I was going to use that as my war chest. I think I got $4,500 back or something. So I was going to use that as a war chest to kind of build Darkness.
Nice.
Right? Okay. Yeah. So then this all, and this kind of dragged on to like before Christmas. And then Jody and I went to, I think we went on a cruise or something. Yeah. We went on. So I think we went to like a Western Mediterranean cruise. We went to Cayman Islands and places like that. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool. We drove down to Tampa, and then we jump on a cruise and went. It was like $700 or something.
That's awesome.
So I was at Cayman Islands, and then I got a message from Mike.
Yeah.
So he goes, "You're not gonna like this." I was like, "What am I not gonna like?" So he took a picture of Darkness's, the front frame of the MB, right? So for most of the people who doesn't know, the sway bar catch points, the sway bar mount is mounting on a front frame of the ND. And the way the ND frame works is it's got a frame on the top. It looks like a box. And inside there's an inner box. So it's a box in a box. It's a box within a box for the frame.
Okay,
right?
sure.
And in there are holes that are drilled to vent. I mean to drain any kind of a fluid inside a car.
Makes sense. Right? Okay, I like
but
that.
If you park the car under a tree or something like that, or with the hood open, the dust and all that stuff can blow into those drain holes,
and then it won't drain out. Okay.
And then when it started raining, especially park the car outside, the rain is going to get trapped inside, and then the rain won't drain, and now the inside box will start rotting.
Right.
Will start rusting.
Sure.
And then if you start seeing the outside box rusted,
then the inside's done.
The inside was gone.
Yeah, if the outside rusts, that means the inside's been dead.
Right.
Yeah.
So what Mike did is he took a picture of the sway bar mount, right? And you can see that the mount is barely holding on to the sway bar. Right. And then I started, then I went to Mazda Motorsports and tried to find the replacement for that entire clip for the frame. So you can, and it's not a bolt on, you have to cut it off. They send you the metal, you have to cut it off and weld it on, right?
Oh,
then you have to jig it and and that costs $3,000.
That's another Miata price. Like that's
yes.
Like what are you doing?
Right. So I was like, I don't think we can do that, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing we can do now. So why don't I? So just
What did Darkness never get to race?
No.
So Darkness never saw an event.
Yeah. Darkness never saw anything.
How did they get that?
So Darkness saw a Mike's garage.
Oh my God.
So what happened was I go, well, I guess we'll junk that chassis, right? So he goes, okay, I'll do some search and we'll let's find a chassis. Right?
Yeah.
So what he did was just for fun, right? Because every time we race in CSP, they always tell us you can run in DP.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The abbreviation of DP was something else, right?
Oh, we know what it is. We don't need to say that.
I didn't know what it is. I was innocent until they told me.
Well,
so anyway, one of the feature of a DP prepared car for Miata is you're allowed to cut the windshield.
Oh.
Yeah, you can run it without windshield in DP as long as you have a roll bar, right? So what Mike did just for fun to make people laugh is he cut off the windshield.
That's awesome.
And told people that that's the car that we're building.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but the reality is we're junking the thing.
Right, you're just getting rid of it.
Yeah, we're just junking the thing. So what we ended up doing was the door was okay, the trunk lid was okay, and the hood was okay. So what we did was we picked every, like the fenders and the doors and all that stuff that was still good.
Yeah.
We took it off the car. So we just have a bare chassis that was all, with the bottom all rusted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, we saved the seats, we saved the wiring harness, we saved everything, we saved the dash, everything that we can save, we saved. And then we took that thing and I junked it and got, like $15 back or something.
So that's the second Miata.
That's the second Miata, right?
Okay.
So now we have a bunch of junk and we have no car.
Oh my God.
To put it on, right? So now I'm back, and then now we're into January. Now we're looking for another car to put everything back in. Now we have the ABS module, we have the motor coming out from Darkness, we have all of that stuff, right? Yeah. We just don't have anything else.
You need to find a car.
We need to find a car. Then Mike sends me a note and says, well, this might be promising, like a cryptic message, and say, I have 3 Miata chassis, you can come and inquire. So I called this person. This guy's handle is Metal Man.
Metal Man, obviously.
Yeah, Metal Man. So I call Metal Man. Metal Man responded right back and say, well, I got 2 that I'm going to junk both of them that I don't want anymore soon, right?
Okay.
So if you want it, you let me know. So I go, yeah, I do want it. I don't know how I'm going to come and get it. Please let me know once you decide exactly what you're going to do. If you're going to sell it or whatever, when it's become available, let me know. I do need a title, right?
Yeah.
So the very next day he calls me back and say, I have this green one. This green one has title, has 0 rust, right? No wheels, no suspension, nothing.
Okay.
Right? And then come and get it. I'm going to junk it tomorrow. If you're here before I go junk it tomorrow, you can get it. So I go, where are you?
Huh?
So he says, I'm in Atlanta.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a far.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's what happened, right?
Uh-huh.
Here's what happened. And that was in the morning. And that day was my anniversary.
Don't tell me you did this to Jody.
Okay. So I said to Jody, I said, I have to pick this thing up.
Oh my god!
Right?
Uh-huh.
It's $125. It's
Yeah.
in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Right? You want to take a road trip
For our anniversary.
on our anniversary day. So Jody always says no and this kind of stuff. And then that day she was like, okay, I'll go. Right?
That's she's the best.
I know. Which I was like, wow, okay. So we jump in a car, we started driving, right? We started driving. And then I think we left around noon because all this stuff happening later. So by the time I got to Charlotte, it was 8:00, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden had a fever of 101 degrees.
Oh, you got sick.
I got sick.
Oh no.
Right? So we stayed in the hotel in Charlotte,
Mhm.
right? While I was sick the whole entire time. Next morning when I was up, I was still having a pretty high fever.
Yeah.
Right? So Jody drove from Charlotte with the trailer and rig to Atlanta.
What an
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah. And then I was sick and passed out,
Oh my god.
over there. And then the funniest thing is as soon as we went across the Georgia border, my fever went away. Right? Because all the Tylenols or whatever stuff I was taking was working better. So I jump on the car, we switch after I got into Georgia. I drove to Atlanta and I got to the guy's house at 9:00.
Nice. Good.
Right? So he says, oh, cool, you're here. The car is yours. Right?
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I gave him $125.
Wow.
He gave me a perfect chassis, a green chassis with no rust, nothing on it.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So because that thing was going to get junked, right? If I don't
Mhm.
pick it up. So
Yep.
I picked it up. He gave me the title. I drove all the way back to Mike's house. Right? I put that chassis in his house. I took darkness away back into the bed of the trailer.
Yep.
And next morning I went to the Rockville junkyard and I junked the thing.
Dropped it off. Nice.
Right. So now Mike has a chassis sitting in his garage on
Yeah.
his lift. Right. And we have all of these parts and all that stuff. Now we have to recreate the car back.
Yep.
Right. So that took place on, I think, the 11th of January.
Okay.
Right. From that day on, I spent every day at Mike's house. So on the weekends, I'll get there at 9:00 in the morning. I work until 9:00 at night. On weekdays, I will work until
Your
5:30 home
Yep.
at my job.
Yep.
And then I told Jody that I'm heading to Mike's house.
Mm-hmm.
So I would drive to Mike's house. I get to Mike's house at 6:30. And usually I bring something. I bring either Chick-fil-A or some Chinese carry-outs or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we eat real quick. And then at 7:00, I work until like 10:30 at night.
Wow.
Then I would drive home. Mike is about 45 minutes, 50 minutes away from my house.
Mhm.
So then I'll drive all the way home and I'll sleep. The next morning I'll get up and then by 6:00 I'm at Mike's house again.
That's wild.
We did that every day until March 14th.
January to March. That's crazy.
Every day.
So at the end of all this work, all this effort, all this sweat, blood, and tears, literally sweat, blood, and tears, what did you guys have in March?
Well, we built Oscar. Right.
I feel like everyone that's listening has either heard of Oscar or has seen Oscar in action or has heard someone else talking about Oscar. This car was like the spirit of the region.
So Oscar was built with basically nonstop, like day and night. And then we built Oscar. And then the reason it's called Oscar, right, is my client was saying that we need to give a name for this car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so he comes, so Mike basically said, well, it's coming from 3 junk cars. So why don't we call it Oscar the Trash? Right. So what we did was I got a huge Oscar the Grouch sticker from Little Mike Snyder.
Wow.
And then we actually put it on at Dixie in our first national event when we drove together. And we didn't do anything with the car. We spent like 2 hours putting that sticker back on.
Making sure it's perfect.
And then it wasn't perfect. It was like, oh my God, this is ruined and this is crooked or whatever. And they say, people can see it from 3 feet away. 3 miles away. So just put it on there.
Yeah.
So we put Oscar, the sticker on Oscar in our first national event. So
That's awesome.
before we went to Dixie, I took the car and did a shakedown at Cherry Point, right? In North Carolina, because then there's no events around here. I took it to Cherry Point, which is on a place I've never been before. I don't usually win this kind of stuff. And I was the fastest car of the day
Oh, that's
over there on the very first event.
And they're probably like, who the hell's this guy?
Yeah, they were like, "What the
car.
heck is this?"
They're probably like, hello.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It was like, whoa. And then we came back and was like, okay, well, we need this and that. So we did quickly, for the next week, we did a bunch of modifications.
Nice.
And then we took it down to Dixie, right?
Mhm.
So that would be Mike's first time driving the car, my second time driving the car. And that's after all the shakedown, we just call Oscar, right? So, and there were a lot of fast people down there. And then there were people that, national champions in that class, right? So Mike finished first, I finished second.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Then from that point on, we just went on a roll, right? We kept on winning.
That's so good.
Right? So, and then the only time we didn't win or do well is if we race against Billy Davis and Neil Tofson, right? Those two are the fastest guys there is, right? And then we can't cover those. But for the most part, if Tofson wasn't there or Billy wasn't there,
then you guys are 1 and 2.
Yeah, we're usually 1 and 2, and we're usually SCCA runs on Paxos, and usually we're in the top 5 in Paxos too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, because the car was like, and then at that time CSP was so fast because there were a lot of people that were really legitimately fast in that class.
Yeah.
So the PAX was out of control. Every year after Billy Davis wins, and the PAX goes up by like 10 points or something. Right.
That's awesome.
But we're still able to cover. Yeah. No, that was really, really cool. So the whole season we just roll with it. And then by the end of the season, we run like 28 tires.
Wow.
Yeah. We run, like every event we go to, we'll take 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And sometimes, and at the year end, sometimes we'll take 3 plus 2 or whatever. And then,
So
we want a lot of tires.
You guys took Oscar to Nats.
Yeah.
And at Nats, what happened?
So at the pro finale, Klein did well. We won some more tires. Nice. And then at the national itself, that was kind of interesting. What happened was this. Right at the end of pro finale, we broke the power steering line.
Oh.
Right. That's a common failure for CSP cars because the way that they join and run the lines together with a lot of vibration, it will break right between the block and the line itself. It would just start a hairline crack. And then power steering fluid will come out. And then without power steering, that car is not drivable. Right, because we're running 15 by 10.
You can't even turn the wheel. You can't. It's
but they're 275 Hoosiers, man. We're not turning that thing, right? So we thought about de-racket or whatever. Like we kind of got stuck there, but some of the dealership was still open. So I ended up getting, and unfortunately we run Thursday, Friday. We didn't run Tuesday, Wednesday. We got lucky.
Yeah.
So Monday I FedEx, a brand new line. And then fortunately, we got it Tuesday afternoon. We put it on there, we flush it and put all that stuff in. And then Wednesday, we're able to practice and then off we go.
Good.
Yeah. So the very first day, Mike drove, as well as, that how Mike normally drove. So I think he was in maybe 7th. I think he was the last trophy spot. Right. And then for me, it was really unfortunate because on my last run on the first day, I probably put together the best run I can ever do. I mean, I don't think I could drive any better. Right.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I thought I was fast enough to be in second place.
Awesome.
Because the raw time was in second place. And then I came back, I was like super excited, right? Because I knew I put a fast time there.
Yeah.
And then I came back, and Mike goes, "Oh, that's too bad." I was like, "What's too bad?"
What's too bad?
Right? He says, "You hit the very last cone on course right before the finish."
No.
And I was like, "That's not possible. I thought I left a whole bunch of room for the last cone." Right? Because I set it up right. And he says, you just clipped it and the cone just fell down before you went through the finish.
Oh my God.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Heartbreak.
Right? So now instead of second, I went all the way to 9th or 10th. I think it was 10th. Right? And I was like, well, game over, right?
Heartbreak.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, because I was really ready I want a trophy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my 9th try. So the second day I got up in time and all that stuff. And, we started rolling and all that stuff. But then we got distracted, a few things, blah, 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 blah. So when we got to the grid, we actually got there a little bit later to kind of get ready. So we quickly took everything and then put everything together and all that stuff. And then I was the first driver. So I jumped in, I drove. Right. And I came back, I wasn't thinking of anything of it. Right. So then Mike jumps in and he did his first run. Then he comes back and say, there's something that feels weird. I think something is like loose. I mean, there's some metal noise or whatever. It's like really, really strange. I don't know what it is. Right?
Yeah.
So I go, well, I don't know. Let me look around. He says, maybe my seatbelt, like the passenger seatbelt might be dangling.
Yep.
Okay. So I was like, okay. So I put a passenger seatbelt on. I went on, I drove, and I was like, I didn't think too much of it. I came back and I wasn't thinking at all because I think there's no way I'm going to catch anybody else up. Right. So I just went in and put runs after runs, put in my second run. Then he comes back. He says, I still hear that noise. Right. And I was like, don't worry about it. Just drive hard. Okay. Yeah. And because now all of a sudden both of us are not in the trophy spot anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Because we wouldn't drive that well. Yeah. So like then on the last run, I basically just say, okay, here, I'll just go out and have a good time. So I drove it. I came back and I improved some. And he goes out and drive and come back and he improved some. Right.
Nice.
And then the funniest thing is there were 2-3 people or 4 people ahead of me. Right. They all got nervous. They all went backwards.
Oh, because you guys were just driving now.
We're just driving. Yeah. And so it turns out that we actually did really well, like on our drives.
Day 2.
But I didn't think very much because like in my mind, I was good for second. So, so I think the second day I was probably the 5th fastest or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
But then you add stuff back and then the mic was also faster. I mean, than the day before. Yeah. I don't even know. I think I rawed him on the second day, but he had a much bigger lead. So he and I took the last 2 trophy spots. He got 6, I got 7.
That's called doing a Rusty when you do really well on that second day.
Yes, on the second day, right? So then we're all happy and all that stuff. We came back, yay, right?
Yeah.
Right? And then, of course, it's an impound time. Pop the hood and then lift the trunk up. You know what happened?
What?
I left my jack stand, the toolbox, the impact wrench, everything inside the trunk. I had like
you had a trunk full
40 pounds of stuff inside the trunk.
You had a trunk full of stuff just flying around back there?
It's flying around there. So that's why I was like, like on my last round when I came back, I saw a dent inside of the rear fender. I was like, Mike, did you hit something? He goes, no.
From the trunk, it's smashing through
it's just smashing back and forth inside the back. So I just put a sticker over on top of it and called it good.
That is
so pretty funny. And that was the last day. I mean, that was the second day at 2016 Nationals in CSP with Oscar.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it dragged along enough because this is really a segment for Oscar, right? So
yeah, it's all good.
So, even weeks later, I found my impact wrench inside of the somewhere on the bottom of the trunk, kind of there because it got smacked back and forth and fall into the slot.
Fell underneath the.
Yeah, oh my God, crazy. So anyway, I got my first trophy in Oscar, and so was Mike, right?
Yep.
And then in 2017, when we started, we're still winning everything, right? And then I decided that I want to try something different. Yep. So I went out and bought a different car for Cam. That's when Cam first got started. Well, actually, the second year of Cam.
Okay.
Right. So we'll talk about that in the next episode. But I figured my Cam car is a great car to cherry pick the entire Cam class.
So we're gonna call that your cherry pick.
From in the next few years, I try to buy cars I can cherry pick classes.
Okay.
Yeah. So before I leave this, so the Oscar story actually turned out to be a sad one.
Yeah.
So I at the end of the season, I gave the car Untitled to Mike for Oscar. So Oscar is his, right? Because I felt like I've done everything with Oscar that I thought I could never picture to be. I gave that to Mike. So Mike started driving with Kevin Henry. Mike and I still hang out, right? So
of course.
So we're driving in his pickup truck, and for no reason at all, he almost drove the car into a ditch. And then I was asking him if he was feeling okay, and he said he was okay. He doesn't know why that's happening, right? So then I drove the truck home. And then a week later, Mike's girlfriend, Valerie, calls me in the morning and say Mike is in a hospital. So what happened was this: Mike went to work in the morning on the Tuesday, and then he got on the highway and he passed out. By the time that I got to the hospital with Brian Garfield, we found out that Mike has a huge brain tumor that was really malignant. So he had operations then and there. And then from that point on, I think Mike lasted another 5 months. Yeah, it was a terrible brain tumor.
Mm.
And then so Mike passed away early 2018. Yeah. So Mike willed the car back to me. I sold the car and gave the proceeds back to Mike's family.
Wow.
And then the car went to St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah. Went to a guy by the name of Matt Hodges.
Nice.
So Matt took that car the following year, and he was third at nationals, and then he did second at at all the national events, and he'll win national events and all that stuff. But he continued to trophy every year at nationals.
Wonderful.
Right. So then Matt decided to sell the car, and then Mark Shrivastava bought it. Mark and Ali bought the car back here,
and it came back.
They never had a chance to run them at nationals. Right. So then before Mark and Ali moved to Hawaii, the car went to Kevin Henry. Which really should be going to Kevin in the first place, right? Because he was the co-driver.
Yeah.
So Kevin and Ian, they co-drove that car for a couple of years, and then Ian became the national champion in that CSP car.
In Oscar, that's wonderful.
In Oscar.
Yeah.
And then car got sold to Nick Dunlap,
Yep.
right? Which were also SCCA WDCR racers that they raced with us the whole entire time when they're living in DC. And then they took that car for now the first time into nationals, and Nick also trophied in Oscar.
That's
right.
So cool.
So it was a great story. Then it turned to a really sad story, and now it's back into a great story.
Great story.
Yeah. So that's the story of Oscar. Yeah. So anyway, too much Oscar there, and there are a few other Miatas that we can spend a few seconds to talk about, which I'll quickly give you the good and the bad.
Yes, please.
And the ugly. All right. So during that time, we also had a 2010 Miata. No, I'm sorry. It was a 2006 Miata, right? And the 2006 Miata is sloppy.
Sloppy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the dark blue Miata that Alan Claffey and Kate Claffey right now has. It's called Sloppy. So I bought Sloppy through an SCCA racer that he was selling. He actually took that car, a salvage car, and with all the damages over there, and he has one of the guys that work for him to bring it out to an autocross and sell it. And I actually bought that car, then I put fenders and doors and all that stuff, and then Alan and Kate bought it after I fixed it.
Yep.
Right. So Sloppy's still around, still parked at Alan's house.
Yep.
Right. He would drive it every once in a while, and then it's a perfect car for that CSX class. Right. And then after that, I drove Sloppy for a little bit. I was like, oh man, that Sloppy is so good. So I couldn't forget it. So I ended up buying a silver power retractable hardtop Miata. Right. And I started prepping into STR and all that stuff, and I drove it and I loved it.
Yeah.
Right. And then that car is also at Alan's house, and that's Bruce.
Yep.
Right. So Bruce is the silver Miata that Alan drives.
Yes.
Right. And then obviously years later, my blue ND Miata also went to Kate and Alan. So Kate and Alan buys literally every one of my Miatas.
I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
So during that time, I had the 2006 and 2010. And then also that was the year that ND was released.
Yes.
So in 2015, September, when ND was releasing the 2016 ND, I used the SCCA S-Plan discount, and I bought that white ND Miata. And that was the one that it was the funniest thing that I always try to drag race other Miatas. I've never lost drag racing.
Hilarious, by the way.
In that Miata, but ultimately, 4 months later, transmission broke.
God,
that was pretty dumb. So that transmission kept on breaking, but that car was fantastic. It was pretty awesome. I think I bought the ND the same day that Brian Carwin bought his black ND.
Yeah.
And then we were showing up in the same event with the same tires with no suspension. And
that's awesome.
And I think Greg Pallick was taking pictures of us. They can see the bottom of the car because it was like it was rolling so bad. Yeah. No, so we did that. And that ND went to the Garfield family. And then they had the ND for a while. Yeah.
They run it in C Street, I think.
They ran a C-Street afterwards. I mean, that's a fantastic car.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my Miata days. I think
there's one more. There's one more.
Oh, the latest one?
The most badass one.
Oh no, that didn't happen until later.
Oh, okay. So that's not part of this one?
Yeah, I can talk about that. Well, I mean, the most badass one is the 2014 ND.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
No,
NC.
NC, yeah.
NC, yeah. I was looking for that car for 2 years.
Wow.
Then all of a sudden it popped up in a Harrisburg dealership.
Oh.
And of course, I can't tell Jody I was going to go get that one because she knows that would be my 5th NC or something like that.
So that car, I've seen maybe 3 to 4 different kids at autocross events. And one of my favorite questions to ask the kids is, what's your favorite car?
Yeah.
And I want to say out of the 5 times I've asked, 3 times it's been that
car,
the one that Mike Brown has now.
Yeah. So when I bought that car, when I bought that car, I had every intention to do everything that I wanted to do with that car. Right. So I found the car at dealership at Harrisburg, and then I called up Jeffrey Wolpert, my friend Jeffrey.
Yep.
Then I say, hey, can you help me to pick up the car, and then maybe you can pick it up for me. I'll try to pick it from you later.
Yeah.
Then he was like, I'll come and get you. So he drove all the way down from Harrisburg to pick me up, and then drove me back. A great friend, right?
That's so nice.
So then he helped me pick up that car, and I drove it home, and then I did all kinds of stuff to it.
That thing is awesome. That's
suspension, aero, supercharger. I put like 4 or 5 different kinds of seats in there. There's all kinds of stuff I did to that.
So many Miatas.
Yeah, big brake kits and so on and so on. So Mike Brown bought that car. So he still has it. Yep. So one of the interesting trick is out of all the cars that I bought, during that time, other than the 96 NA that I sold to a fellow autocrossers family, right? So that sort of still stay in the community.
Yeah.
Right. And then obviously the 3 cars that combined into Oscar is still with Nick and Caitlin.
Yep.
Right. And then the rest of the cars are all either at Alan's house or Mike's house. So they never left the family when you think, to a certain extent.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's my story of the ND.
That's an awesome
NC,
story.
and NA, and
NA, and ND, AB, ABCD.
Yeah. Still the best car there is.
That's why they call it the answer.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you, Danny. Going through your cars I love it because it's like story time. I'm just like listening like everyone. It's so good. I love it.
Don't spam me after I tell you all my stories.
Don't spam him, guys. Stop putting his name on those spam call lists.
That's right.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Danny. Next episode, let's talk about what you were calling the cherry-picked race cars, cherry pickers, starting in 2017 to the start of COVID. So we'll go through the cherry-picked cars next time. All right.
All right. That sounds good. All right.
Awesome. All right. So
we'll
stay tuned.
All right.
See ya. Thanks. Bye. All right. This concludes our podcast episode. Everyone is excused except for the novices. Our novice meeting begins now. Okay. For today's novice meeting, Danny, we are going to be talking about common beginner mistakes before and during the run, right? After the run's over. So let's talk about what are these beginners doing right before the run, right? We're not talking months ahead of the run, right before the run. And then during the run, what are these common mistakes and how can we kind of address them? How can we fix them? How can we eliminate them really? Because they're the common beginner mistakes.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, so the common mistake that they make, it's the same as the one I make. No.
What is it?
Well, I mean, we yap too much.
We yap too much. So, okay, what's the problem with yapping?
So I would say the most common mistake I've seen, especially for beginners or for people who actually know a little bit about autocrossing is they're not really watching where they are when it's time to go. They either sit over there frozen, like, I gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're out there like wandering somewhere.
I feel like I'm going to be attacked during this little segment.
That's right. You're going to be massively attacked, right? So I think that one of the common mistake is, and honestly, it's all about be ready for the race and actually during your runs, in between all of your runs, and actually in the beginning of your heat, you want to put yourself in a battle condition. You need to start whatever the plan that you have.
Okay.
Right. So I'm here. Once I pull up to the grid, when did I pull up to the grid? How I'm going to put up to the grid, where I'm going to run the grid, and then look around the cars around you. That gives you an idea that, okay, 5 cars ahead is this car. So when that car is moving, I better start getting ready. Build a rhythm. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're already 7 cars ahead if you need more time.
Okay.
Or you need to, when the 5th car in front of you is taking off, then you need to be aware that, okay, here, this is my trigger. that I need to get in and then start getting to my rhythm.
You just said battle ready. I immediately thought about athletes in other sports like basketball, football, soccer, whatever. And then I thought about F1. And if you ever see them, like when they're in the pits right before they go out for qualifying, the camera will zoom in like on their eyes and their visors are up. And they're not like shooting the shit with their engineers.
Yep.
They're not talking to the tire guy who's holding the tire. They have a lot of fun in between the sessions and all that stuff. But right before they go out, if you ever see the video, the camera zooms in on their eyes and their eyes they're locked in.
Yeah.
They're not just staring off into space. They're focused, like a dialed in, locked in, ready to, the way you said it, battle. Like they're almost ready to go into battle. Obviously, it's not real battle. We don't this podcast is not promoting any kind of violence or war. If anything, we're the opposite. We're lovers, not fighters, right?
You're like Michael Jackson.
Ow!
Yeah. It should be like, Paul, I think I told you I'm a lover, not a fighter. But the thing is, you need that focus. You need to kind of put yourself in that, I don't want to say in that zone.
But it is, though. But it is.
Yeah. But I think it's always good for anyone, not just novices, but it's good to start learning from a novice where, when there's 5 to 10 cars before your turn, right? Put yourself in a position that you're ready for that. Because nowadays locally, sometimes we get 6 runs or 7 runs or even more. That's kind of nice. But you want to condition yourself that every run matters.
Yeah. It does matter. You're right.
So that's priority number 1.
Okay, so great. So that's the first one. That zoned in, that dialed in, whatever you want to call it, that Zen state where you're focused, you're thinking about what you're doing. You're not, you're not daydreaming. You're not thinking about something else. So that's the first one before the run. What's the next one before the run? I think about the car. I think about my car because you check the pressures when you get there, and then you have your first run, and then it's time for run number 2. Did you check the pressures? Did I check the pressures? What did I set it at? Where do I go? Do I go up? Do I go down? Do I add a little bit? What's happening? Right? That's my next one. I think that you have to have a game plan before so that when you're in it, you know what you're doing. Okay, my game plan was to bring the pressures back down to exactly where I had them for the first run, right? And then you just set them, get back in the car, prepare to go again, right? So I feel like not having that plan for basic things like air pressure is another rookie mistake, because I am not that senior, but I'm senior enough that people come and ask me what they should be doing between our runs, right? So it's almost like something you could have talked about before during the walk, when you're walking the track, or maybe even, whatever. And it's okay to ask, but it's just a thought.
Right. That goes the same with all the preparation stuff, right? Because fortunately, all these modern tires, when the pressures are off 3, 4, 5, 6 PSIs, and especially if you're a novice, makes no difference.
Makes
not that much difference. Right. But at the same time, though, you have to remember, maybe your car is extremely intrusive, with their traction control system, right?
Sure.
I can't tell you how many times that even today, like sometimes I get on track, I forgot to turn traction control off. How many people comes back and say, oh, well, my run would be awesome, but I forgot to turn my traction control.
So many times, Danny.
And many, many times. I do that too.
Yeah.
And then I'll be driving halfway and say, oh God, traction control. And then I have passengers and I try to struggle to turn traction control off after the first corner, right? So these are the kind of things that you kind of almost have to remember. I've seen people actually make a cheat sheet or like a post-it.
That's good.
And then just taped it on the dash.
Yep.
And they will say, is traction control off? Have you checked your tire pressure?
Yep.
Right? Is everything set? Right? Have you turned your AC off?
Yeah.
Yeah. Things like that. Is the windows down? Is your helmet strap on? And then, if you have a lap belt, did you put that on? These type of things, right? So it's a good idea to even write yourself a cheat sheet note, right? And just put it up there. And then, you know what? It's I don't think that's a good idea, because you don't want to drive from segment to segment to segment or point to point to point. But if there's something that you constantly forget, and then when you get to that part of the track and go, oh crap, I'm over bombing this thing, right? You know what? Put it on a post note and put it right there and write it down and
Danny,
tell you.
That's the perfect segue for what's a common beginner mistake during the run. You just mentioned it right there. You said, I'm blowing this corner over and over again. Do what you need to do to not blow that corner.
Yes.
right? Like if that means making a post-it note for one event or two events, it is what it is. Is that a great habit to have all the time? Probably not. Like,
no, yeah, because you don't want to
Yeah.
drive the whole segment. You don't want to drive the course from point to point to point.
right.
So, which we can talk about, some of the mistake that people make during the run.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's
I
do
think there are plenty of things that could do. So during the run, based on what I've witnessed, out of every novice, right?
Uh-huh.
There's no exceptions, right? Unless they're the best driver ever, is you're struggling to learn the course, and then you're learning from one cone to another cone at a time. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people will get to this point and then go, oh, I got to go right here. Oh, I got to go left here. And then I have to make a turn.
But then
right?
the course comes at you too fast if you learn like that.
Yes. So most of and that's normal. Like most of the novices or the beginners, you will see the course as one, spot two, spot three, spot four, right?
Uh-huh.
It's too bad that most people don't know, what a Garmin catalyst is, right?
Yeah.
So if at Garmin catalyst, sometimes they take a course or, a racetrack, they divide down to like 15 segments, right? So literally when you drive in autocross, I've seen people that memorize, the entire course in 15 segments. Cone number 1, cone number 2, cone number 3, cone number 4. And then you struggle to remember that because you're not remembering very well. And then you're not really looking around. So you end up driving to a spot and go, okay, here's my next spot. And here's my next spot. Here's my next spot.
Yeah.
And that's the worst way of carrying speed, right?
Yeah.
So when you're driving from cone to cone to cone. Right. So the common mistake that most people make, especially novices, is that they drive from point to point to point to point.
Yeah.
Right. And that is something that, you definitely want to grab somebody who's experienced and show you the actual line. In this corner, you early apex, in that corner, you late apex. Then, this corner, you do this because the off camber. And then once you have all that stuff together, right, you want to eliminate these segments. You want to first eliminate your 15 segments, hopefully down to 3 segments, like the F1 qualifying, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, you got no segment.
Yeah.
Everything is just one slow flowing motion, right? So that's that's some of the mistake that people found on course, right?
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
2 is you would drive and all of a sudden you start getting tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because what happened is it's very simple. When your mind got behind of where you're supposed to go, right? And then everything that you see is just a tiny line because your mind is only getting to that line.
Yeah.
And then you try to process to the next line, which is point to point. So one of the things that like people always said is to tell you to look ahead, right? And I think I mentioned this before. I don't like look ahead, right? Because look ahead just sounds like I just need to look. And if you magically look in front of you, it doesn't mean that you can actually execute.
Sure.
You want to think ahead.
Think
right?
ahead. I love
if
it.
If you think 2, 3, 4 elements ahead of time, then your eyes will automatically check 2, 3, 4 elements ahead of time.
Your eyes are just confirming your thoughts.
That's right.
Right.
And then what your eyes see, your hands and feet will follow. So you don't even have to think about your hands and feet, right? Because as soon as you know where you're supposed to go, and then everything else just kind of happens on its own. I mean, it's kind of like magic, but it does do that, right? So, but the key thing is you still need to have a plan of attack. At this point, you need to be in this position, and then you need to be in the other position, but your mind should be 3, 4 position placement ahead instead of 1 ahead.
Yeah.
So you're not driving from point to point to point. It's just a natural line to get to, whatever you ultimately need to be, which is the end, because your mind has to constantly travel, as you go by, right? Hopefully your mind is 5-10 seconds ahead of time. So you're not getting behind or getting surprised.
Yeah. I hope that this segment, for any true novices that have been listening from the beginning of our podcast, we talked about like what to do to prepare for a run, what to do during all that stuff a long time ago. I hope this sounds different because now you've gone to a few autocrosses. You've gone to 3 or 4 or 5 autocrosses. And now the things we're saying, even if there's a little bit of overlap, which there should be a little bit of overlap.
Should be a lot of overlap. Yeah.
Right. It makes a little bit more sense. It starts clicking, right? And then fingers crossed, the spring, when we get back out there, you'll be able to implement some of these things that you're hearing, that you're listening to, right? Things like think ahead, I'm still figuring out. So I don't want the novices to feel like, no, I need to think ahead and I need to think faster. My thoughts, not my hands, not my feet. My feet make my problem. I'm just flooring it and it's not good. Right.
Yeah.
My hands, not as bad as my feet. My feet are very bad. My hands are less bad. But the worst right here, if I can figure out how to think faster, think further ahead, think smarter, think quicker, everything will fall into place. And I know this because I watch myself. Like it's almost like a out of body experience. I'm watching myself and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why did I
have a trick.
Yeah.
I have a trick.
What's your trick?
I have a trick.
Yeah.
So here's a trick I'm going to offer you guys.
Here it is. For free. For free. You know, if you're into this game, you love to have a fast car. Right? Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So when you look at a fast car, when you look at a car, you don't just say, I want a fast car, right?
Yeah.
You say, I want a car that I have this kind of tires, this kind of wheels, this kind of suspension, and this kind of sway bar, and this kind of wrap, and this kind of gas, and this kind of seats, and all that stuff, right?
Fun.
So when you try to buy a car and then have a fast car, you go through all of these preparations and planning of what you can make out of that car, right? That's the same mindset when you get on the course, that how am I going to be the fastest on course? It's you got all your, not only you got your tires and wheels and all that stuff, but you also need to know, hey, this is the start, this is the finish, and these are the segments and all that stuff. The logical thinking is the same, right? Except that I think when you build a car, it's a little bit more fun. So you enjoy kind of visualize your car, what your car is going to be looking like, right?
Yeah.
So the key thing is you want to end up to visualize this course to be something that you really know, and then that's the best way to enjoy that run.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it as that.
Yeah,
right?
that's great. I love it.
And I would encourage people to treat autocross run the same way that you're buying a brand new car. I mean, it's almost the same kind of joy.
It is. It's the same kind of joy. And when you get that really good deal on that car, it's the same feeling as getting a really good, clean run. Felt
That's
good.
Right.
I win.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right. So with that said, let's wrap up this 23rd episode of the DMV Autocross Podcast. And I hope you find this informative and fun.
Yeah. And don't forget to join us for the next episode. And until then, keep those tires on the track and that wing in the back.
Yeah. Or what the heck is that thing on your shirt?
This is a dragon with it's a cat with the dragon wings and I don't. Meow, meow, kitties.
Don't put that on the back.
Oh my God.
All right.
Wing
okay. See you guys.
See ya.